Nation, a lot of you really want me to talk about Mayhem Fest 2015, and originally I wasn't going to because Mayhem Festival to me is just another one of these American festivals such as Ozfest that try to capture a lot of the momentum and a lot of the fan bases of bands of the moment. Reminds me a lot also of Warped Tour, although Warped Tour will usually have a couple of classic bands kind of come back, and these other tours will try to do that too, but it seems to be more of a revolving door, with the exception of Ozfest, where of course you would typically have an Ozzy or Black Sabbath to end it and have a couple of repeated guests considering the length of time the tour's been going on. Mayhem's been going for about, I want to say 7 years now. This may be the 8th version of the tour. So here in 2015, the lineup has attracted a little bit of attention on both the positive and the negative light. Usually within years past, there seemed to be enough of a balance to really attract a fair crowd from both sides of heavy metal. Those that were a bit more on the casual side, or like the more modern metal bands such as Asking Alexandria come to mind, and Disturbed. Atreyu was one that was on a couple of years ago. The one year that I did go was 2011, and Megadeth was on there, but they were right before Disturbed on the lineup. I think it was something along those lines. But either way, this year has attracted some real controversy, I guess, but a lot of attention based around its lineup, because it seems like they're trying to do that again, but it seems swayed in one direction. So let's take a look at this real quickly. We have, on the main stage, we have Slayer and King Diamond, which I think is going to be the two bands that are really aiming to bring the elder metal fans out. Slayer from the thrash metal department, we just talked about their new song, and then King Diamond, of course, is, oh man, that would almost be worth the price of admission right there. We have Hell Yeah, which could also attract some older metal fans because of the Pantera reference, and we have The Devil Wears Prada, which is a band that has revolved and done some revolving work on the main stage before in years past, so this choice is not all of that strange, but this is definitely one that's more for the younger crowd. Then we get to the second stage, the Victory Records stage. There's probably going to be more announced. I don't know if this is finalized, but let's see what we have. We have Whitechapel, we have Diarda's Murder, we have Sister Sin, Jungle Rot, which is kind of out in left field, Sworn In, Shattered Sun, Feed Her to the Sharks, Code Orange, and Kissing Candace. To see Jungle Rot would be kind of cool. For some reason, they seem to have taken off a little bit. A lot of people know who they are. Whitechapel is Whitechapel. Of course, there's some new faces, some new names in order to kind of spurn a little bit of interest there. But the body and soul of this is in that final name that we spoke, Kissing Candace. Principally because before this entire spiel and desire for people that have me talk about Mayhem Festival, I really had no desire to really find out who Kissing Candace was, or who they were all about, what they were all about even. And then I saw somebody speaking about the band and posted a link of one of their works, and my curiosity ultimately got the better of me, which is what has led me to actually give in and talk about the tour on this video. This band is going to be the one probably from this tour that explodes, the one that actually gains a lot of attention, and for all the wrong reasons, and that's kind of why I need to talk about this for a couple of minutes before we get into final thoughts in this Cover Killer Nation reaction video. Kissing Candace is a group that has masks on that seem to try to allude a little bit to the horror idea that we have seen before. This is not a new concept. It's not necessarily one in which every band and their brother, sister, mother, and half-cousin is doing. However, there's been enough bands that have pervaded during the years that the idea feels a little recycled, a little tired, and almost like what Mudvayne originally did with the idea, where they used the gimmick basically to get noticed, and then the legend of Mudvayne built after that time frame. We, of course, have seen Mushroomhead do this, we've seen Slipknot do this, Hollywood Undead does this, and there will be other bands that will try to foster this element of theatrics to their show. Of course, there's Guar and Lordy that do the full garb, but the masks idea is one that tends to stick to a certain protocol of band that typically sounds around the same, or has a very similar approach. You don't see... for example, you really don't see a death metal band of the straight-up variety donning masks for no reason, unless it's one that's meant to be completely a joke. This is definitely one where the band seems to take themselves exceptionally serious, and this is not the only place where the parody really ends. The parody just begins whenever you actually listen to some of their music and realize that they're kind of using this Asking Alexandria style ideal of cuts and throwing some synthesizers in there. It's very much constructively within the same idea, within the same breath, only it does have some heavier property to it. However, I think one of the larger ideas that kind of caused some debate, that perhaps caused a little bit of controversy, is their usage of the term gore metal. And now, whether or not this is what they identify as, or whether or not this was just meant to reflect their lyricism or what they think of their lyricism, really remains to be seen. It's just the idea that gore metal as a genre is kind of a strange idea. It goes right along the same lines as porno grind, where it's based around lyrical content, more so a specific style of music. This is something that's with gore metal you'll hear within the brutal death metal variety, or you'll even hear it within the grindcore variety. You will hear one of the big purveyors of that, and one of the bands that folks started to identify gore metal with was early Carcass work, where you have this very much the medical dictionary worth of jargon that has been used in order to dissect and disseminate the English language in order to craft perhaps some of the most medically relevant and accurate gore-filled or gore-splattered lyrics imaginable, and it's one that borderlines on absolute ridiculosity. However, it's something that actually spurned a very light-winded movement that still has a little bit of an ideology in the subculture today. It's not a term that you hear used all of that often, but a lot of times whenever you hear lyricism that has a high amount of splatter count, so to speak, you may hear this in an exhumed record or an aborted album, for example, the term gore metal will sometimes come up, even though it's not really reflective of the style of music. It's more so just a facet of it. From listening to Kissing Candice, though, their idea of gore metal is completely erroneous, and like I said, this is whether or not it's what people are identifying them as falsely, either that or just, you know, what the band said that they were based around lyrical content. It really remains to be seen. The idea is that this is music that is based off of a lot of parody and really riding on the coattails of what a lot of other bands did before them, and it's not executed any better. In fact, it's executed a lot worse. It's one where the heaviness quotient definitely grants it a little bit of slight appeal, but whenever you get deep down into everything, it really just feels like a poor man's version of Asking Alexandria, either that or a poor man's version of a heavier version of the modern crop of metal bands that, of course, draws a lot of criticism. However, I still feel that this is the band that everyone will be talking about from the second stage, from the victory stage, considering it has all of the cross-appeal that the younger crowd, the more streamlined crowd of metal fan tends to really go for, and I'm just telling you all to be prepared. For all of the people that like Hollywood Undead and all of the people that enjoy bands of this variety, Kissing Candice will seem right up their alley. It will be familiar territory, because the idea of parody, ladies and gentlemen, is one that is only identified by those who actively seek it. Either that, or it's identified by the streamlined crowd when identifying a band that they dislike. Either that, or it's used only to catalog a band that they don't find favor with. However, if it's something that's kind of sparkly, brand new, has a brand new sheen to it, these guys have an album coming out this summer, which means that there will be fresh material, it will be a fresh face, it will be something new for these individuals to perhaps get obsessed over. Am I saying this is going to be the next Blood on the Dance Floor, Black Veil Brides fiasco? No, I don't think this has enough appeal to the absolute youth of society where they could latch on to a band such as Kissing Candace, but being on a tour such as Mayhem Fest certainly grants the possibility. That's the one thing that I will allude to. So this is a group that I would avoid 100%. One song alone was enough for me to want to rip the rest of my hair out, considering a lot of it is missing from the other crap that I've listened to throughout the 5 years that I've been doing this or so, and the other 10 that I've been actively listening to music intensely as a reviewer or as a critic. This is a band that has no appeal for me, mainly because of the idea of parody, but also based around the fact that the music itself is not all of that appealing. It just wants me to harken back to some of the other elements of the genre that perhaps do things a little bit better, or makes me thirst a little bit more for the new All Shall Perish record. Whatever the reason may be, this is a group that has the potential to break through and become big, and it will be another band that I will warn you about being on the radar of your social media platforms as the one that draws a lot of annoying criticism, and also I feel will have a lot of annoying fanboyism. I hope to be wrong about this. I hope to be incorrect. However, I see so much there that could easily be latched onto that it's probably going to happen, has a better chance of happening, higher percentage of happening than it just fading away like the various other second to third tier bands that they get for these tours that are one and done. Overall, this is a tour that I should want to go to based around names such as Slayer and King Diamond. I should want to go and see if Hell Yeah can put on a great performance after delivering a dismal record in 2014. I should want to go see Jungle Rot, considering I've listened to them for a long time. I should want to actually go see Whitechapel based around the changes that have been made and all that has kind of taken place within this band's ranks. With that being said, though, I don't feel that I will be attending this concert. I don't feel I'll be attending this tour for about the 4th year straight. It just doesn't hold enough of my attention. It doesn't hold enough of my appeal, and I don't really see myself as an individual that'd be willing to shell out some of the amounts of money that they require for these large-scale tours to see just 2 or 3 bands that I enjoy, whenever I would enjoy it a lot more if they were to come to my town in a more intimate endeavor, perhaps at a small pub or at a small venue, as opposed to in a large outdoor venue where I'm not going to be able to see shit anyway. So that's kind of my take on this whole entire thing. I really feel that the European tour scene and some of the other lesser-known American tours and American festivals have it right, and I'm even going to go so far as to say the ones such as Coachella or Bonnaroo, but I'm thinking more along the lines of Prague Power down in Atlanta that they do each and every year. Love the lineup, just never have gotten the opportunity to go. That will one day hopefully change, crossing my fingers and my toes for that. But for those of you who are Mayhem veterans, people that have gone to this tour year after year, are you planning on attending here in 2015? And for those of you who are on the fringe, who are kind of on the middle of the road, what do you think about this lineup? Is this lineup worthy of your money? And finally, what is your appeal to these larger style festivals? Why do you continuously go to these festivals whenever there's a good chance that you probably will not get to see a lot of the main acts up close unless you have paid obnoxious amounts of money? Is this more for the second tier bands? Do you know somebody that are in any of these bands? What is the story, Morning Fucking Glory? Let me know in the comments below. My opinion of this is, of course, mine and mine alone. There will be some of you that will agree with me, others that do not. Slayer alone does not warrant me going to Mayhem 2015. Especially after the 2 songs, the 2 new tracks that I have heard, it's just sort of cements that as kind of wasted money. What do you think? Let me know.